Unfortunately, I had to go through about 20 operations, before I was 19, which really kind of taught me a lot about keeping going when there's no finish line in sight, trying to stay the course when things are difficult. And definitely as a founder, you go through a lot of pain in the journey, but I think that was a good preparation, I think, for building a business.
Alrighty, hello everyone and welcome to the Deal Maker Show. So today we have a really fantastic founder. We're going to be talking about the good stuff that we like to hear, the building, the scaling, the financing, really amazing stories of turning down acquisition offers, also of perseverance, as well as, taking a look at at rebranding and positioning. That's not easy at all. But again, I think that the story of our founder today is going to be quite inspiring. So brace yourself for a very powerful conversation. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest today, Aron Alexander. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So originally born in London, give us a walk through memory lane. How was life growing up for you?
Interesting times. So I was born, as you said, in London. I grew up in a family who owned independent retail stores. So I guess part of my journey in building Runa was really some of the experiences there, kind of growing up, working in a grocery store or a bakery or a clothing store, kind of with a pricing gun in my hand, seeing the kind of the grit, determination, the effort of like building something from scratch, and the kind of day-to-day grind, or attention to detail, I should say, and customer care. So that was really quite an informative experience. Had a lot of other, I guess, experiences growing up, which taught me a lot about building a business. Don't need to go into all of them, but like some of them might be interesting in terms of the resilience and perseverance. I unfortunately had to go through about 20 operations, before I was 19, which really kind of taught me a lot about, keeping going when there's no finish line in sight, and trying to stay the course when things are difficult. And definitely as a founder, you go through a lot of pain in the journey, but I think that was a good preparation, I think, for building a business. Rolling forward, I started the company when I was 17.
And before that too, I mean, I think that that's so powerful what you mentioned there, because, being a founder too is all about being with uncertainty, being okay with, not knowing what the future is going to have for you. In the morning, everything is great. At night, things are falling apart. And it's just like the cycles that you have to go through. I guess in your case too, as you were saying, dealing with 20 operations, health-wise, I mean, that's very difficult. It's ultimately dealing with the uncertainty, but doing so at a very early, stage in your life. I guess, how do you think that shaped who you are today, Aron?
I think the things to think about there are, like, we all go through difficult things. Like, everyone has their challenges. We don't all start from the same position. And the learning for me, at least, was you gotta find a way of like holding on to what's important to you to keep going, and then using those experiences, I guess, to try and build something for yourself and achieve whatever it is you want to achieve in life. Because if you can go through something difficult in one part of your life, instead of it being maybe something that holds you back, or is only I guess, a period of trauma that you find difficult to process, you can actually use it as fuel to try and go and do something that's meaningful to you, and not just be something that things happen to, but be someone that makes things happen. So I think we don't always choose the things that we go through, but it's about just making the most out of it, and doing what you can to take the things that you can control and create something that matters to you.
Now, for you, obviously, you were going to go through the schooling and, the education, all that stuff, but you decided to drop out and go into the military. That's quite the course of actions here.
Well, I had, as I mentioned, the kind of health issues going on, so I couldn't really finish school with all the A levels that I probably wanted to. And then, like, I had to take a step back, and I wanted to, do things that maybe rewarded the other skills that I had in life, that kind of determination and that focus. Maybe you can use in academia, but I didn't really have the opportunities to maybe go to the best institutions at that stage of my life. But going to the military really taught me a lot about excellence, and if you persevere, there are paths for you to really go and achieve things that you didn't maybe think were possible. not to mention all the teamwork and planning and other areas of resilience and grit that you need to operate in an infantry unit, which all kind of map to building a company as well. But I was fortunate after that to be able to teach myself, my outstanding remaining A levels while working, and get myself a place at Cambridge University. Because of, I think, the experiences that inspired me in the military were like, if you do work hard, there are opportunities to excel, and that doesn't just apply in that in the military part of life, but actually in any part of life. And again, it's about just taking what you have and making the most of it, and seeing how far you can go. And I think that's something that I lacked in school, but learned in the military, and really has allowed me to take myself forward, I guess, in other parts of my life.
How do you think Cambridge changed the things for you professionally as well?
That was a real experience in multitude of ways. It was a culture shock for me personally, having kind of not come from that background, first person in my family to go to university. I think I'm the first to finish high school, and then I think there was some really amazing, you know, experiences there that doubled down on what I was saying before. Because you think of University of Cambridge as a center of academic excellence, it's actually a center of excellence across a multitude of different fields, whether it's the rowing team or the footlights and comedy or other activities. You see a lot of high achievers coming out there naturally, but not just in academia. And so I think that I was really fortunate to get a great grounding in analytical thinking there. I was pushed to my limit. I acquired new skills that I use to this day in terms of like first principle thinking and being able to do good research, around the market, around customers, around documentation, and thinking about how to disperse and disseminate information in a way that lands with people. So that's the academic side. But it was a real kind of eye opener, again, taking that same idea of, if you focus and you master your craft at one area of your life, you can excel there. And that doesn't have to be limited to one thing. It doesn't have to be limited to the military or just academia. If you put your mind to something, you can go and achieve great things in whichever field that you're passionate about. So I think like that shaped my thinking and the way I kind of approach things from that experience at university.
Now, in this case, you ended up going into a payments company, then a family office, and then you find yourself into the world of entrepreneurship. So walk us through those sequences of events that needed to happen for you to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I was fortunate to grow up in a family of entrepreneurs and get exposure to that early on. So I guess from a kind of familiarity perspective, it felt something that I'd seen a lot before. I started my first business at 17 at school. I actually started my second while I was in university. Again, like in the same kind of investment area. The family office was actually while I was teaching myself my A level, so that was a little bit before. But I think the point was that having had those experiences, growing up, and while in education at school or university, I always felt like I had a drive to solve problems. And I was really fortunate through university to go through some internships in financial services. So I did some trading and forex, and Runa does a lot of movement of money cross border. I did some research in equity research, actually in retail, and Runa obviously works a lot with retail merchants as our partners, where you can spend the money that you send on Runa. So I had a lot of different experiences that kind of mapped to what we're building today. After university, I worked at a payments company that integrated into retail point of sale systems. So you kind of think of Runa as this Venn diagram between like my entrepreneurial experiences, the payment experience I had after university, the financial markets experience during university, and the kind of exposure to technology that I had throughout all those different experiences kind of came together to build a new infrastructure for sending and spending digital money.
So then now let's talk about Runa, entering Runa. So how do you decide that Runa is the right thing for you?
So again, it's about spending time in market and like seeing the problems and trying to figure out which were the biggest ones to solve. When I was working at the payments company, we took about, I think it was a year to get our SEPA EU account set up through the banking system, and then maybe longer to work with Visa to be able to open up a new market. This was way back when in 2013, so a little bit different than today. But at that time, it seemed like the traditional banking and card rails were extremely difficult for a business to interoperate with. And then during that period, I actually received a paper voucher for like $5 as a refund in the mail. And having worked a little bit in retail and thinking about like the cost of picking and packing and shipping something for such a small amount of value, like the economics didn't make sense to me. So I kind of looked into it and realized that, well, actually, money is just an agreement between two parties. It's a medium of exchange to get access to goods and services, but it requires two parties to agree on that medium. And so we use the card rails and we use fiat, cash that's run by the banks to power that exchange. And I asked myself, well, this voucher is a multi-store voucher and it's running completely outside of those rails. It means I don't need a bank account. It means that if I can digitize it, I can move it to anyone, anywhere instantly. And the merchants give really good commissions versus the kind of traditional interchange that you get, especially in Europe where that's low. So for me, it was like the traditional rails are failing businesses, they're failing consumers as a result. If you can integrate with enough merchants directly, you can build your own rails to move digital money around instantly in any format to anyone, anywhere. So that felt to me like a really important problem to try and solve. And I went into market and I validated it. And I found businesses who were struggling with their payout needs. The need to send money to a consumer for a refund, as was the case with me, or to reward an employee, or to cash out points in a loyalty program, or to remit funds to a freelancer. And so it just felt like as money was changing from like dollars and cents and pounds and pence into bits and bytes, into something more digital, something that moves from your pocket to something that lives online, there would need to be a new rails to power that new generation of payment use cases. So that was the insight that I had, and I kind of followed my nose, if you like, and found a way to building Runa.
So talking about Runa, for the people that are listening to get it, what ended up being the business model of Runa? How do you guys make money?
So Runa is an infrastructure that allows companies to send digital money to the people they serve for the use cases that I mentioned, and there are quite a lot of them. So it could be anything from like a class action payout for $15 to a refund or reward or remittance of some kind. And the way Runa works is that businesses will deposit money on one side, let's say $100,000, and then we'll be able to send $1 to 100,000 people in real time. And every person gets a link, and that link is effectively our wallet. And it's the ability to spend that link online and in store with over 5,000 merchants in 50 plus countries that we built. And it's appless, cardless, bankless way of transferring money. And every time that a redemption happens, a merchant pays us a commission, which is how we make our money on the business model side. And sometimes customers pay us fees just to get access to the platform as well, because it's such a novel, frictionless, global way of sending and spending money. And what's really interesting now is that we built our own merchant network, but now we're adding all sorts of other off-ramps to Runa. So you can move money into your bank account, onto a prepaid card. We've dabbled with stable coins in the past, and we'll be bringing that online again. So it's really about the ability to move money to anyone, anywhere, instantly, specifically right now from a business to a consumer. And then we make money on the redemptions that happen when those consumers spend online or in store.
So how was it to go through the first stages of the company? I know that even early on, you guys almost ran out of money. So it sounds like it was bumpy.
Well, it's a difficult thing to try to sell building a new rails. And working in the UK, in the earlier stages of venture here, almost 9 years ago now, was just a different market, a different fundraising environment. So we're lucky to have the backing of a few angels and start to get some traction. But there was a point where I got a phone call from one of my team saying, well, actually we may not have money to make payroll next month. And you're like, well, how does that happen? And things are moving so fast. Sometimes you can kind of get lost in the swirl of things, which has taught me a lot about being on top of all the details in the business. And we had a really hairy moment there where we're like, well, how are we going to continue to build this company if we can't make payroll next month? We kind of run out of runway, run out of time. But we were lucky that we had people who believed in the vision from the investor side that backed us. We had some early customers that were prepared to take the leap with us kind of before we really had a working product. It was more of a concierge service. And then we managed to just prove that people wanted what we had, and that allowed us to raise some institutional money and kind of bridge that gap. But it was definitely touch and go there for a second. I think every company has those near-death experiences, especially when you're trying to build something new. I read once, if you want to build something really innovative, prepare to be misunderstood. So I think we definitely were for a while, and we managed to find our way through.
So in that case too, I mean, you guys have raised about 55 million. So how has it been the journey too of going through the motions to raise all the money?
Yeah, I think again, at least for me, I'm sure for many people out there, life is like a series of reinventions, and you kind of just have to iterate your way and learn how things work. Definitely took a while to kind of understand the kind of whole way of selling and storytelling, and understanding like how to uh, plot a line from where you are to where you want to get to. And I think we were really lucky that we found people who believed in the vision of a whole new way of sending and spending money, who saw the opportunity, who believed in me, believed in the team. And we were fortunate that we could raise a proper seed round in 2019, and then that gave us the fuel to prove out the kind of product risk and the go-to-market risk. And again, we're able to, just during COVID actually, we had another touch and go moment where our Series A, we had a bunch of people lined up due to the traction of the business, who were super excited. Kind of got to IC, everyone was like 3 or 4 funds, I think, were very engaged with us, shall we say. And overnight, you kind of wonder where everyone's disappeared to, if they've kind of moved country or something. And then the kind of party line of, well, this is just as COVID was hitting, like late March 2020. We've got some stuff going on. We have to kind of, think about this a bit more. No one wanted to be direct at all. So again, it was another kind of having the rug pulled out from underneath us, which I'm sure happens to many companies, but it's never fun. But again, like we focused on the problem, we got our heads down, we proved that customers wanted what we were building. And if you do that, you will find partners who will want to back you. So I guess that really is the story.
I mean, the rebrand too, you guys went through, was quite the challenge as well. I mean, rebranding is painful. How did you guys go about that and why did it make sense to rebrand?
Yeah, so this again is like maybe the naivety of starting a technology company for the first time with no resources, and you're kind of trying to tell the story, but maybe don't know how. And at least for us, we tried to get an agency involved, and kind of really didn't have that much money to professionally approach this. And we thought, well, we're building our network right now using gift cards as a hack, a way to get retailers to accept the digital money that we're issuing. And all our customers want gift cards right now, and we didn't think about like the future enough, I think. And so we thought like a SEO friendly, simple way of explaining what we do was to call ourselves at the time WeGift. But underneath the hood, we were building this like really powerful engine to move any form of value to anyone anywhere instantly. I mean, we even did an integration with Coinbase where we were cashing out cryptocurrencies in 2018 in real time, when the rest of the market was taking 5 days, for no fees, when the rest of the market was charging 3 or 4%, and we would give a bonus on top. Like, we were building some really cool stuff, but it was hard to get the market to like understand that. And so we persevered with the naming, and it was quite of a jarring experience trying to talk about future payment infrastructure while having this, I guess, millstone around our necks with gift cards. And I think we realized quite early on that we need to change the name. It took a while to get there, but we effectively were able to tell our story better through rebranding to Runa, because it really speaks to this idea of mysticism, of moving money instantly. Like, how do you make money appear somewhere in real time? If you give me dollars, I give you gift cards. If you give me euros, I give you crypto. If you give me pounds, I give you airtime credit. And like the idea of runes and mystical movement of value was something that we really kind of attached to. And it just helped people kind of put us in the right box and think of us in the right way. And then, we were able to attract the right talent and the next set of investors and the right customers. And there's an old thing about what's in a name. I think I've learned a lot is in a name, maybe to our detriment in the early years, but it's been transformative for the business. And it's a super hard lift. But if you can think about what drives value for customers and how do you communicate that in a way that can land and tell a story around it, it's going to help you move a lot faster.
And talking about to checking the boxes, I mean, there was a series of acquisition offers that you guys received, but obviously those did not check the boxes, and you guys ended up turning them down. I mean, turning down acquisitions is a really big deal. So why not? And how do you guys think about timing too when it comes to acquisitions?
I think everyone's going to have their own set of criteria. For us, we have a lot of legacy players in the kind of current space that we were in at that time. This is like 2018, 19, 20. And we were building like a Stripe for digital incentives, rewards. It was really cool tech, and it would have been really valuable for those particular incumbents. But the vision was always so much bigger. Like it felt like we were selling ourselves really short. We could take the money on the table, but I believe that Runa has this massive opportunity to redefine a whole industry. And at the moment, we're already impacting the lives of tens of millions of people every year receive money on Runa. I think we'll be about 40 million people this year. Individuals will have received money in real time and be able to spend it faster than they would have got it through other rails. And if you can keep going on that journey and have an impact on eventually hundreds of millions, potentially billions of people, that felt like not only will the financial outcome take care of itself if you can hold on and take the pain, but you actually get to build something that matters. And I don't think that comes along very often. So for me, it was like, you know what? I can keep going. Pain's an old friend kind of adage. And it just felt like the upside was so much bigger than the near term. So just thinking long term about the impact that you want to have and the outcomes that you want to achieve, I think was my guiding principle.
Let's talk about the outcomes that you want to achieve. Let's say you go to sleep tonight, Aron, and you wake up in a world where the vision of Runa is fully realized. What does that world look like?
I think we have connected to every merchant that matters to consumers and built the ability for anyone, whether it's a business or a consumer, to send money to someone else anywhere instantly outside the card and banking rails in a way that is personalized, data rich, faster, and more economic, driving more revenue for everyone everywhere. So I think that looks like an API to make payouts to consumers. That looks like consumers receiving that money in a real wallet and sending money to each other, and then using that wallet to pay in another merchant, and then businesses using Runa to send money to other businesses if they need to, like unifying all payment flows in one elegant, simplified platform where it's just extremely intuitive to make money frictionless, just like the internet, right? Just making money as simple as an email, that kind of old adage. But I think money is definitely moving on from the days of PayPal into all these different formats that people care about more and more. They're a lot more localized. There are different wallets that people care about. There are different formats like gaming credits or cryptocurrencies or you think about the digital universes that we're building now. Like money has a lot of different forms. And I think like our vision is really to make all of those interoperable and seamless with the mainstream economy and basically enable people to get access to goods and services wherever they are, whenever they need them.
Now, imagine if I put you into a time machine, and let's talk about the past to the lens of reflection. And let's say I put you into a time machine that brings you back perhaps to that moment where you were kind of coming out of Cambridge, getting into the payments world, family office, all of that stuff. And now you're starting to think about perhaps starting something, right? And let's say you're able to have a sit down with that younger self, and you're able to give that younger Aron one piece of advice before launching a business. What would that be and why, given what you know now?
At the risk of kind of repeating myself, I think it would have been the branding. That to me felt like the biggest unlock that we created for ourselves, because the opportunities is there in our market. It's just like, are you able to engage with and attract the right audiences? And I guess with messaging that resonates with them so that you can deliver the value. Because if you build the best product in the world and no one's there to see it, you don't have the distribution, it doesn't really matter. So I think looking back, if I could have got the branding right, I think we would have attracted the best talent sooner. We would have attracted the investors sooner. We would have attracted the right customers sooner. We would have been able to kind of really, step into ourselves in the way that we are now. And so I think, at least for us, that was our journey. I mean, for other people, it might be different. But if I was going to go back in time then and try to redirect the ship a little bit, one piece of advice, it would be that.
I love it. Well, Aron, for the people that are listening that would love to reach out and say hi, what is the best way for them to do so?
You can reach out to me at Aron, Aron, at Runa.io, or feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Easy enough. Well, Aron, thank you so much for being on the Deal Maker Show today. It has been an honor to have you with us.
Thank you so much for your time.